Hi there, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Steven. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, in the latest episode of Under the Radar Review, I'm looking at a 1985 fairy tale fantasy type film directed by the none other than Ridley Scott. The cast includes, listen to this, Tom Cruise as Jack, Mia Sara as Lily, Tim Curry as the Darkness, David Bennett as Gump. We have Billy Barty as Screwball, Alice Playton as Blix. Then we have, for you Star Trek fans, Robert Picardo, who plays the Doctor in Voyager, as Meg Mucklebones, but I'll get to that character later. So this is Ridley Scott has just done Alien, which is a massive hit. He follows up with Blade Runner, which develops into a cult following, and we know everybody loves this film, but it didn't do the box office numbers that we had hoped, or he had hoped, and the studio had hoped. So when he's kind of thinking of he's like to do a fairy tale type movie in the vein of Brothers Grimm, he knows he's not going to get the biggest budget because he hasn't proven himself yet. He's not as consistent as Spielberg or Scorsese at the time, right? So he's going to make an original story. So he writes a story with this guy called William Jotsberg, and they come up with Legend, which is basically Tom Cruise's character Jack, who's the hermit of the forest, who befriends a Princess Lily, and they have these little adventures, and he's going to introduce her to the unicorns of the forest, the most mystical creatures of the land. On the other side of this, we have this evil called the Darkness, played by the fantastic Tim Curry, who wants to plunder the world into eternal darkness by killing these unicorns of the forest. So Jack and Lily lead some of the minions of the darkness to these unicorns, and they kill one, and darkness happens. So now it's up to Jack and his friends of the forest to not only save Lily, who gets captured by the darkness, but he has to restore the light. And this movie didn't do well in the beginning because when it came out, it was kind of shown or advertised as this fairy tale. So everybody's thinking like Walt Disney, like Snow White. It's going to be, a kiss will waken up the princess, and everything is going to be good in the world again. This is a very adult fairy tale, and it deals a lot with good and evil in terms of light and darkness, not only externally but internally, and how we deal with it. Very adult oriented, which I didn't get at first, or I got, but it wasn't what I expected when I watched the film. I think that's what hurt the film. It wasn't what we thought it was going to be. It wasn't this cliched fairy tale movie. This is a very adult themed fairy tale. Um, when we get like the forest was built on the lot that they did all the James Bond films. It's humongous in scope. It's beautiful. Like this is not CGI stuff. This is 1985. A lot of prosthetics, a lot of real trees, real animals are there. This looks beautiful. So when we see the forest. I think they released like chicken feathers or duck feathers, and it flies there. It looks very mystical, very mythical, very non-worldly, very fairy tale-esque, if you'd like. And every time we get to the darkness, played by Tim Curry, his lair is always looks very broody, dark, cold. It feels like death. It feels ugly. It's the total opposite of the forest, and that plays out throughout the film. Every time we see Jack, it's very light. Goes to the darkness. It's dark. Um, the Princess Lily gets captured by the darkness, and another point where they kind of show the internal struggle of darkness and light. Um, Tim Curry's character, the darkness, as he's trying to seduce her into the darkness, not only just internal, but they kind of insinuate that he would sleep with her for sure. There's that seduction that's happening. They wouldn't show it because I don't think any studio would allow a young princess to sleep with a part devil, part minotaur looking animal. I don't think that would ever be seen on screens, but it's implied that if he could, or if he plays his cards right, that could happen. He gives her a dress to wear, and she kind of embraces her dark, and she does this dance in front of the mirror, and you can see that innocence of the princess gone and into the darkness, and she's now in the same kind of thought pattern as Tim Curry's character, and how you can see how easily you can fall in step with it if you allow it to be, right. That dance, even Tim Curry mentions it. There's a line where he goes, what is the light without darkness? He even says it out clearly. There's always that balance. Even Tom Cruise, when he's in the, like I said, it's always like until he meets Robert Picardo's character, Meg Mucklebones. It gets dark. She's like, I think it's the witch from Snow White with the white hair and the big nose. Imagine her rotting, and she's all green and decrepit, and she comes out of the water, and she's like, oh, the water's running down, and she's like these long fingernails. Even she mentions at one point she would sleep with Jack's character. She would sleep with him, but she makes it known she's gonna eat him. She makes it quite clear. She might have her way with him too, because he's a pretty boy, but she's going to eat him at the end. There's always that play of like the older creature is going to take the innocence away or the light from the younger ones. There's that play that's in constant motion in this movie. And that's what makes it interesting to watch now, that how the lightness and the dark, the innocence and the evil, there's that dance that's in continuous movement in this movie, and that's what makes it very interesting to see. Um, the prosthetics look amazing. Meg Mucklebones is scared. The first time I was scared, and I was 16 years, and I'm scared of this creature. Blix, one of the dark elves of the darkness, looks like they mentioned in this biography somewhere. The face is made out of a likeness of Keith Richards, except with a larger nose. It's very interesting. The characters. Tim Curry's The Darkness, like I said, is a mix of a Minotaur and Satan together. Nothing looks as good as this. You need to see this once in your life. It's phenomenal to see. You have to watch it once if you like adult themed fairy tales. This is not for the young at heart. I would not show my children who are under the age of, I would say, 10 this movie for sure. I was 16 and got scared with Meg Mucklebones. I was scared out of my mind, you know? And even at one point where the darkness is charging at Tom Cruise, it's on the big screen was intimidating. And I knew it's not real, but I was like, like this, Very interesting. All in all, a very good movie. A lot of people complain that Tom Cruise doesn't work well in this movie. I think he does because you know what? He's not the Tom Cruise that we know yet. Top Gun is going to come out, I think, a month or two after this, and then it catapults him into another stratosphere of success. He's still new. He's wet behind the ears, literally. So he's innocent in terms of filmmaking, and he brings that innocence to the Jack character, because Jack has to now become this fierce fighter and not be innocent anymore and see the darkness in the world. And I think Tom Cruise was still at that. I think he's 23 years old. He's still innocent in terms of how Hollywood is all going to work. And does he have a career? Is he going to make it? Because this didn't work out as he thought. He thought it's going to be a big hit and it wasn't, right? So this was kind of scary. But then Top Gun took over and the rest is history. But you can see that, I think that innocence of him not being, because I think if Top Gun had happened already and he's this mega star, I don't think he'd have that same approach to this film. I think it would be a totally different film. I think Jim Carrey was offered this role. Johnny Depp, maybe Johnny Depp could do it too, but I think Tom Cruise does a good job because he is, in a sense, a virgin to the filmmaking part because he's still new at this. He's not where he is at now, where he knows every aspect. He has his own company, he does his own stunts. This is him learning the ropes still. So he's still that young kid. And I think that's what works for this movie. Everybody else is fantastic too. Maria Sarah was actually 15 years old. So she does wonders. She plays the part phenomenally. I like everybody in here. But Tim Curry steals the show as the darkness. If you liked him in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, this takes it to a whole new level. I think if you like fairy tale movies, if you like the Brothers Grimm, if you like a movie that will take you somewhere else, but not be exactly what you expect it to be, if you like that journey and see that dance between darkness and light, I think this is a great movie to see. If you haven't seen it, if you're a Tom Cruise fan and haven't seen him in a fantasy film, I think you only get a grasp of that into fantasy when he gets into the Last Samurai or and stuff like that. That's when he suddenly really gets a foothold and takes hold of that. But all in all, I love this movie. I recommend the director's cut. It ends. It makes more. They added more to the story, and it ends off the way I think it should. I won't tell you what the ending is. See this movie first. I believe it's on Amazon Prime. I think you can see it there if I remember correctly. You deserve to see it once. If you like fantasy films, if you like fairy tales, if you like Ridley Scott's direction, then this is a must. If you like prosthetics, real effects, not CGI, then this is the movie for you. I think you will not be disappointed in this, and it deserves its place, and it deserves more love. And I think it's an underrated gem in the Tom Cruise catalog, and I think it's an underrated gem in the Ridley Scott catalog. And I think it's an underrated performance by Tim Curry himself. And actually, Robert Picardo as Meg Mucklebones scared the heebie jeebies out of me. So if you think he's the nice doctor from Star Trek, watch this, and you know what, I still can't tell it's him. It's unbelievable what he's done. Great, great stuff here. So this is Steven with my recommendation. Watch Legend. You will not be disappointed. See you soon, guys.